Hello, SWIHA land. My name is Becca Briley, SWIHA Success Coach, coming to you one day early. Usually we do this on Wellness Wednesdays, but I was so excited about who we're featuring today. We started talking and we're like, let's just do this now. We need to go live. It's been a beautiful Memorial Day weekend, so hoping you all are well and probably getting back to work after that. By the way, we have a beautiful guest speaker today, Stevie Minner, who's also a veteran. So thank you for your service, Stevie. I can see you smiling back there waiting to come on here. So really excited about this topic because it is all about that joyful vibe and that what you're vibing, really you are calling in, you're casting that net and you're being blessed with opportunities. Stevie has so much experience in this arena. She has examples, and we want to hear from all of you if you have experienced this. So I'm going to go ahead and bring you on. Hi, Stevie.
Hello.
Hello from Arizona to Texas.
Oh, yes. Howdy.
Howdy. It's so good to see you, and thank you for your service, truly.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes. So really quick, everyone, just want to introduce Stevie Ann. She's a digital marketing freelancer specializing in content writing, social media marketing, and public relations. She's been involved in this sector since about 2014, helping organizations and holistic practitioners reach their target audience through various online channels. She's also a SWIHA online instructor, which is where she gets to really get into all this goodness with all of our students and soon to be graduates and practitioners in the world doing all of this goodness. So, hi, Stevie. Welcome, and thank you for joining me.
Hi, Becca. Thank you so much.
I love how we're just like, let's talk and chat, and I can't wait. Let's just go live right now.
Yeah.
Yes. So the biggest question for you that we'll lead into here is what, obviously, for you. So I asked Stevie, everybody, I'm like, you do a lot of work, girl, out in the world. What do you want to focus on for today? So why this topic, Stevie? Why joy?
Oh, I think because if I look back at all the different holistic entrepreneur opportunities that I had, every single one of them started from a place of joy and childlike wonderment. It was me expressing, not only doing the work myself, but also just my demeanor, my disposition. It's when people commented on that I was able to attribute it to the work I was doing at SWIHA as a holistic entrepreneur. And that is what launched every single one of the most amazing opportunities that I got in my career to date. And it's honestly how I even got into the marketing aspect, because I thought this was so almost effortless. I need to share with people so that they don't feel like they have to post from pressure and they don't have to force something, because a lot of opportunities come when we just naturally, organically do the work and then not forget to tell people about it. So I feel like this really helps everyone take the things that they're practicing and turn it into a profitable career should they decide to do that.
Okay, this is really good. See how this is just so organic. We can't make this stuff up. Because where I wanted to go is not where we're going to go.
Okay.
Because what I heard you say is that, yes, you want to stay consistent, right? There's almost a self-discipline in it. But how do you keep that joyful vibe? How do you stay excited and passionate and like, oh my God, this is so good, I have to share it?
Yes.
How do you maintain that, Stevie?
You stay in the work that you're marketing to other people. I mean, it's so simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy, because it's not uncommon for us to wear all these different hats of entrepreneurship. And before we know it, we're like the mechanic who has the worst car on the block. We're taking care of everyone else, but not ourselves. So if we stay in the work, not only are we actively working on our business and working in our business, but we're a walking testimonial that it works. So we never have to worry about being relatable or being credible or wondering, am I a fraud? Do I have identity? What is that? Imposter syndrome?
Imposter syndrome.
No, because we actively are engaged in the very practices that we're telling other people to participate in because we believe in it. So every time we're going through something, if we go back to the very work that we ourselves are learning and practicing, it makes it that much easier for us at any given time we come across somebody to attribute our success or our progress to the work that we're doing. It's you become your business card and you don't have to force one now. It just makes for such organic, authentic dialogue and genuine expression. And it's not even a soft sell. There's nothing to sell. You're literally just showing up as proof. And then when people say, how is it that you work through XYZ? Oh, I'll tell you right now, it's hypnotherapy. Oh, it's life coaching. So does that kind of make sense?
Yes. No, I love that. And what I'm hearing when you say that is it's accountability, that I'm practicing what I preach. I'm embodying the lessons. I'm doing it. I'm excited about it. So therefore I'm vibrating the goodness of what is. And hey, let's be honest, sometimes the healing process, we're working through shame, grief, sadness, anger. It feels dark. Like we have to go, whoa, there's the duality in my humanness.
Yeah.
And that's the work that you're talking about.
Yeah. And who better than someone who's going through shadow work help someone else a couple levels beyond that? Like, hey, no, I get it. There's no shame in your shadow. I have faced my own. I'm constantly wrestling this part of myself as well, but there's hope. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes,
it actually gets really exciting because then you're like, no, not only does this work, but I myself am living proof, and I'm not going to shame you. I'm the perfect person to facilitate this for you because not only have I been there and done that, but I also am living proof that it works. So it's just, practice what you preach turns into this whole other thing that helps you become profitable in the very thing that it is you're passionate about.
Yes. And then you'll notice when you're talking about your demographic and your niche market, it's literally like a reflection of you.
Oh,
right?
totally.
Like your avatar is you in another human.
And that's a supernatural thing. I mean, I think all of us to some degree, whether on the scientific side or the more metaphysical side, we can't deny that there are vibrations and frequencies, and like attracts like. There's doctrine and different belief systems that you can pull that from, and that is accurate. And so that said, since we can't really refute it, I mean, you may as well just give it a try. And you'll see that joy attracts opportunity. It really does, because marketing it's one of two things. It's either I want to be like that person, or I already identify as being similar to that person. And so when we naturally show up as a greater expression of ourselves, or the greatest expression of ourselves, it is going to attract like-minded people, or people that are maybe aspiring to get there. And it just works. It just works.
That's right. So like Joe Dispenza, it's our thoughts are literally electromagnetic frequencies. So what we think, we vibe, we call in, we create.
Yes.
So I'm curious for our viewers who are on with us now. I'm curious if this is showing up in your life. And oh my gosh, are you hearing this right now for all the right reasons, right? Timing is everything. And how can you relate? So think about that for those of you with us. So Stevie, in what aspect of your business can you pinpoint a big moment where joy attracted opportunity for you?
Okay. So many. I'm going to try to just focus on two so I don't take up too much time. Okay. So the very first one I would say is when I first started taking life coaching, I very quickly enjoyed the talk therapy aspect of it. It was very cathartic. I am long-winded, so I really did enjoy the speaking aspect of it. And I remember that I wanted to continue with that and go into hypnotherapy, because sometimes am at a loss for words, but I thought, man, it'd be really interesting to take hypnotherapy classes and just see how much deeper we can go, right? Because cerebrally, I get a lot of things, but what if subconsciously there's more? And I loved taking all the hypno classes. I ended up taking advanced hypnotherapy and ended up getting my degrees in those. So it was a wonderful thing. But what was interesting is while I was taking those classes, I did not shy away from practicing what we were learning because we're called to do that, right? That's part of the curriculum. And one of the things I noticed is that I didn't have very many people outside of my SWIHA community that I could talk to about hypnotherapy or to like gain clientele. So one day I happened to be practicing jujitsu at a martial arts area over there in Tempe, Arizona. I was with my son and daughter. And I remember this guy came up to me and he said, you know, Stevie, you always come in here like smiling real big. I had just graduated from another weekend intensive hypnotherapy class. And he's like, man, Stevie, you always come in here like just big old smiles and very joyful for someone who's about to get their butt handed to them on the mat, which, you know, truthfully, yeah, I definitely did. It was definitely, you know, not my greatest forte. So I remember being so blissed out from the weekend of hypnotherapy. And I just naturally said in response to him asking me about why I was just all smiles, I said, it's because I'm doing hypnotherapy. And I just ended this really intensive weekend and we worked through a lot of stuff and it was just a lot of shadow work. And it instantly resonated with him. And he asked me, he was like, well, do you offer hypnotherapy to other people? Like you're just going through it. And I was like, well, that's the thing. I need clients. And he's like, say no more. He was like, I'll go in with you. He's like, I want to have some of what you're having. He's like, I'll drink the Kool-Aid. You seem to be all smiles. And so it was really cool because then not only did he become a consistent client for me, but for the next 18 months, he referred to me all these incredible UFC and MMA professional fighters. The caliber of these men, it was remarkable. They all had very similar, almost all had very similar backgrounds. And so we really started to get into sort of this like metaphysical, attracting this sort of same demographic, which I believe UFC and MMA, a lot of times there are people that go that route because they themselves are wrestling with things. And it's there is a demographic there that experience a lot of the same childhood things. And so
therapy,
before I knew
right?
it,
It's a practice. It's a therapy.
yes. And here we were able to do something not just physical, but marry it with their subconscious. And we were seeing like true results in the ring. We were seeing like actual performance enhancement. And that's what we started to work on. It was incredible. It was so incredible. And what was really cool too is with that niche industry, the more I listened to the men that were coming in, and of course there's women in martial arts as well. I just happened to have this group of men that my first client was associated with. And so for 18 months, it was revolving doors of all these gentlemen who wanted to hone in on their practice and their performance enhancement. They would tell me the verbiage, and I just kept hearing this consistent theme that's what that industry in particular wanted to focus on. So that helped me over time be able to express, okay, this is what I use hypnotherapy for. This is how this can help you in your XYZ, your industry and your practice and your personal and professional life. And so that became a very lucrative season of my life. And it was even more joy-filled because here I was connecting with all of these people who understood and wanted to dive deeper into the subconscious because Joe Rogan, he was he is a very esteemed person when it comes to that industry. And he himself would speak about NLP and neuro-linguistic program, all that sort of stuff. And so it was really cool that I then was able to use them telling me, oh yeah, I've heard about this and that from Joe Rogan on his podcast. Then I was able to tune into that. And then I was able to hear his verbiage. And I was like, okay, this is how I need to tailor my language to better suit my clientele and what it is that they need. What are they trying to tell me to get out of their sessions? So long story short, me walking in with a smile on my face to go get my butt whipped on a mat, by openly expressing that I was doing the work and that's what attributed to my disposition that day, that was literally the launch. It was that elevator pitch that I didn't even have to perfect.
Yeah.
It turned into 18 months of a very lucrative, profitable career with incredible caliber of human beings working on themselves. It was remarkable.
So number one, you weren't afraid to be authentic in your response of your why, right? It wasn't a surface blank statement. Don't talk to me. I'm going to go over here. It was an authentic share.
Yes.
And then it was a soft plug into what you do for your passion and purpose and profit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And boom, there's your client.
Yeah, super simple. And never in a million years would I have picked that as an ideal client avatar. That's one of the exercises, the assignments that we have our students do in the online courses for 555 and 559. You have this ideal client avatar. Who would you work with? How much do they make? What are their goals? I never in a million years would have had that opportunity or even had it in my goal unless Joy had brought that opportunity along. So it was really cool.
That is very cool. It kind of reminds me of that book, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman. Yes. Such a good book, but the guru that he meets, his master, literally practices hypnotherapy on him on the regular for him to go through these huge transformations.
Yes, absolutely.
So it reminds me of that. Okay, so what's your other one?
Okay, so the other one, this is super cool too. So I think one of my favorite things about SWIHA was as I was practicing life coaching and practicing hypnotherapy, and I did do other modalities, but those two really stuck with me. As I was doing those, I found myself giving myself permission to be more expressive. And I do tend to express through a lot of humor. And sometimes it's crass humor. I did have a funny assignment one time. They had asked us, we were talking about transcending the ego, right? And in this comical sort of project as a sidebar in the middle of a class, I had started to compare in an attempt to be funny egos to farts. And I remember being if we're trying to transcend the ego, we have to be mindful how we air ourselves because it could be offensive to others,
Yes.
And then after you've made a sort of offensive expression, maybe you can politely excuse yourself. It could be difficult to clear the air afterwards. There was all these hilarious little parallels between transcending the ego and potentially
that's hilarious.
I don't know, holding back flatulence or presenting it in a appropriate way, right?
Yes.
And I remember Elmis Vincent, who is a teacher there at SWIHA. He had done a book on light workers, and he had mentioned how to be a lightpreneur and how to share that. And he had mentioned that you make this sort of little circle and you branch off all the different things that you could do. And I had this comedic little routine that was starting to bubble. And I remember sharing it with Elmis, and then Elmis said, you should turn that into a book. So I turned it into a book. It was a quick little online free. It was Create Space at the time, now Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing, which I still recommend everybody at least indie publish one thing in your life just for the sake of doing it.
Yeah.
And as I created that book from a place of joy, from a place of just being childlike wonderment and fart humor of all things, right? I'm just being a kid. I'm having a good time. I had not only written that book, but then once I physically had it in my hand, so that joy created this opportunity to actually be a published author. But then as I was holding it, I thought, I'm going to see if I could get this endorsed by my favorite author, someone who's also very funny. She's in the metaphysical realm. Her name was Pam Grout, and she does all these E squared and E cubed books. It's 9 experiments you can do to prove that your thoughts create reality. They're all under $10 to $15. It was just really, really cool. And so I started in a place of joy, tagging her anytime I did any of her experiments. She had started to catch wind of me just tagging her book and sharing it with the SWIHA community. And so when I had written that I had published a book, I was like, okay, she had congratulated me. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to ask her if maybe she would read it. And if she agrees, would she endorse it? I sent it off to her, and no lie, within, 4 days time, she wrote back and she said, Stevie, it's hilarious. I absolutely would love to endorse your book. So then my book got endorsed by this #1 New York Times best-selling author. Okay. Freak out mode. Okay. So now I'm like overjoyed. Okay.
Yes.
But then there's more. Because of my overjoy and because of me sharing now this new endorsement and this republished work with now her endorsement on it, she says, Stevie, how about I fly you out to I Can Do It Denver, which was like one of the largest Louise Hay, she, rest her soul, but she was still alive. She had painted this amazing painting and I won it at the conference. It was all this crazy stuff. But she invited me to come speak. And in a room of like 500 people, she called me up and I got to speak my literal book, the verbiage and the comedic stand-up in front of all those people. And then that launched me doing stand-up comedy for about a year after that, just little 5 to 7 minute open mics and opening for people. And then I got to close for people, all because of this joyful expression that turned into a physical fruition of a book, which turned into tagging someone out of excitement, an endorsement, a comedy gig. I mean, it was just, and it was all because of that childlike wonderment that I let myself be silly and have a little crass humor and find something that made it relatable for me. I just did it for the craps and giggles for myself. And the fact that it turned into so much more opportunity, it was just joy after joy after joy after joy. And it snowballed into more and more opportunity. And I was
first you did it for homework.
You're right.
But you made it real.
Yes. And it wasn't stuffy. I allowed myself to do it from a joyful place. And for me, that was fart humor.
Yes. And everyone can relate to that.
Yes. And it was so crazy. Funny. It was just so wild.
Oh
and
gosh.
To this day, I still, then I ended up trying to open the Christian community up to it because I do find the parallels between transcending the ego and then fighting the flesh. So then I republished it as, there's egos are like farts for the metaphysical community, but then for the Christian community, there's the flesh is like flatulence. And so now it's like, I still get to do all this work, but in a way that is joyful and it's humorous, but it's a take on humility and it just works. And it's all because I'm in that space of childlike wonderment. So, and I'm not always there, of course, but what a wonderful invitation that we let ourselves just be joyful and just try something for the sake of trying it. And then seeing the opportunity that comes from it. It's wild. Like I never would have anticipated I'd be a published author, that I would do comedy gigs for a year. I mean, it's been a wild ride, and joy was always what launched the biggest opportunities of my career. Hands down.
Yeah. Hands down.
Yeah.
And it was your expression. Like you didn't have a fear. You didn't have that fear barrier to hold you back from being your true authentic self.
Right. And I mean, I suppose there's always a little bit of that. Are they going to like me? Will I belong? Yeah. But you do get to a point where you go, it doesn't matter. I've got to like myself first. I like my own company. I'm going to work on me. And when you're doing these practices, when you're doing life coaching, when you're doing hypnotherapy, why won't you like yourself? You're working on yourself. How could anyone fault someone who's trying? You can't.
Yeah.
You got to love somebody that's trying, right? We all know we're going to fail. What makes us different is the people that are getting up and they're trying. And so I can't imagine not being proud of yourself enough to give yourself permission to just even like yourself. And then you start to love yourself. And I mean, it's just such an amazing thing, provided we stay in the work, provided we practice what we preach, right?
Ooh. Yes.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen.
Woo!
We could literally sit here and talk all day. I know it's 30 minutes already.
It's flown by. I'm long-winded, I tell you.
No, this is beautiful because it's so essential, especially the practitioners. Healers are the practitioners who work on healing themselves at all times.
Right.
So you just have to honor the duality of self.
Yes.
And not get stuck in a place to where you feel like you can't, like, let that joy take hold, like Stevie, you're doing. And I know you're encouraging your students,
I sure hope so. Yeah.
and you're pushing them through those personal hurdles that they have. It's
Mhm.
real. That's real.
Yes.
Is
And
there any other stories you can think of that,
oh yeah,
are like
sure.
profound?
I mean, there's another one. I remember, and this came from a very joyous place as well. So I'm trying to think okay. So I had another fellow veteran. We had connected on social media after years of working together as military police, which obviously was a very different background for me. And I was just a different person then. And so here she sees on my social media me being an incredibly lighthearted, open-hearted person, which was not my military police career, right? And so that joy alone, for her to be like, wow, Stevie, you're like radiating joy. Like, what is going on? I told her, I said, I've been doing all this like metaphysical stuff. It's a lot of, spirituality and self-reflection and just shadow work. And she's like, go on. And I said, so I don't know. I've been helping people with performance enhancement with the MMA and UFC community. And when she heard that, she in her mind said, okay, performance enhancement. Could you also do this for my wife's students? She had married a woman who had owned a conservatory in Pennsylvania and worked with Juilliard bound and Broadway bound students, helping them with performance enhancement. These were
Whoa.
remarkable people.
Wow.
And they were doing all these incredible things from singing and dancing to, these kids were Broadway bound. And I thought, I haven't worked with students before, like youth, right? I'm like, I don't know how that would work as far as parental consent. She's like, oh, my wife will handle all that. She'll get, just send us over your documents. We'll have the parents sign. Flies me out to Pennsylvania. And that was remarkably lucrative as well. That was about a 3-month time frame where she would have these massive amounts of students that would come through her conservatory, and she would offer all sorts of spiritual type things. They were doing dance and choreography. They were doing yoga, yoga nidra. They were doing all sorts of different things. And then they would have me in for hypnotherapy and life coaching. And not only was that an incredibly well-paid gig, but it also seeped into the kids going back and telling their parents how confident they felt performing, how the intrusive thoughts weren't as.
Was it group hypnotherapy? Was it group hypnotherapy?
It was, yes.
Cool.
Now the parents then were like, listen, I'll pay you triple if you'll do one-on-one with me. Okay. So I actually extended from 1 week to like 3 months in, back and forth doing these one-on-ones, even remotely with the parents of the students. And it was, it's not just about the money, but it was proof that there was a need and that people had both the means and the motivation to have this done. Those parents were just as stressed for their own children. They're the ones who are trying to fund these incredibly expensive, costly ventures, these schools, and, all the training that they needed, the vocal training and the coaches. And so their
children are their investment, they're investing in their children.
And then their self-esteem was so important to them. So for them to see their children, it wasn't even about the performance as much as it was about preservation and like seeing their children feel their self-esteem was higher. Like it was just, it was so beautiful to be a part of that and to witness it, because so much of the facilitation is actually just witnessing. It isn't really so much that we're doing the work. It's not about us. It's them letting themselves finally be a line item on their budget for self-care. And that's probably one of the biggest things that we talk about in the online classes, because it can be difficult to accept money sometimes for whatever reasons. We all have our reasons. We think, oh, this should be free, etc. Right? Long story short, if we have money coming in, we can continue to go and to give out and to help more people. And I just remember, sure, it was lucrative, but it was more about letting people finally put themselves as a line item on their budget. letting them finally invest in themselves. And we have to see it that way to really, that makes us joyful too, because it's about them. It's not about our bank account. I mean, sure, I suppose that's happiness, more circumstantial, I would say. But even if the money wasn't there, the joy was there because I was literally in my purpose and I was receiving volume response that people were in a good place and that they were doing the work and they were enjoying themselves. So it just very quickly proves that, once again, joy, this time the joy of the students, became opportunities with the parents. Everything has launched off of genuine joy. Everything. All my biggest, I mean, those are like the three probably most, it's wild, but
I love this. And you know what? When I've taught some of the business classes, we have this money unit, right?
Yes.
And I really drive into money is currency. So what is currency? It's energy.
Yes.
So yes, give, receive, and know that you need to be intentional with it, but you need to have a healthy relationship with that. Where does it stem from? Usually childhood. Let's go back and redefine our money mindset, right?
Yeah, totally. But how wonderful to see it in that lens, that you're allowing someone, that the money they give you is money that they've already budgeted in their budget. It's you're the escrow for them in a sense. They're giving it to you to give it to themselves. Don't get in the way of that. What a beautiful thing.
And having faith that that investment in yourself is going to pay off. So this currency will come back to you. It will.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So much.
The other thing that came up is, okay, because you, Stevie, have been saying yes to your assignments, your spiritual assignments, you are being blessed with those golden nuggets, right?
That's true.
So when you're on path, you will be gifted all of that gold, right? These golden opportunities, which yes, you were vibrating joy, but that helped you say yes. When we are not being authentic and true to ourselves, we're off path, and then we start running into obstacles and get into the woe is me, why me mindset. We're not vibrating joy.
Right. So
how do you stay on path, Stevie, to receive these blessings and stay in that joy?
Wow.
Was there a time when you were like just knocked off course and you're just like, what just happened? Where's my joy?
Yeah, actually. So in the last, and I'll be very mindful how I say this, because I personally practice the Christian faith now. I do believe in a savior that works for me. I truly believe that for me. It was a supernatural thing that I can't explain. I can't describe it, but I can't deny it. Now, in the last year, I've taken some of the spiritual ministry classes that I took at SWIHA and turned that into becoming a women's minister here in the Bible Belt at a church. And I have noticed in the last year that I have been, the organized religion aspect of it really started to kind of, I don't know the word, but like personify how I'm supposed to shine my light, right? Because I'm on fire for the Lord. I'm hands down, I believe it. It's greater than all the other modalities that I've practiced, like infinitely. I don't know how to explain it, right? I can't explain it.
I see it.
But because of it, it's like, no, I know that this is it. So I'm going to look at the doctrine that supports it. And in practicing that this last year, there had been a little bit of a, I'm not really as joyful as I once was. And I literally am in a course right now. It's for veterans, and I'm going through, it's called Discovering the Parts Within. And a lot of it is revisiting many of the books that I read at SWIHA. And it's very interesting because what's so cool is last week I had this epiphany in our class that we were talking, this cohort of 8 of us. They were saying, was there a time that you remember being more joyful? It's the exact same question. And I thought, oh my gosh, when I used to attend SWIHA, I would literally skip down the hallway everywhere I went. And I started to kind of go through the Rolodex of my memories of this past year of being in an employed ordained minister position, right? A women's ministry. And I thought, I haven't really skipped. I only skip when I'm volunteering in the pantry. And so I brought that up at our cohort this past Saturday, because again, I'm always doing the work. We should always still be wrestling that flesh, pulling the weeds out of the garden, right? And so actively in this class last weekend, I realized, okay, I have had a little bit of an obstacle with my joy. And so I've learned that what has stopped that was this sort of self-imposed restriction that I've put on myself with dogmatic, legalistic views.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just need to go back to the basics of what I felt when I first came into the Christian faith, that personal relationship with Christ that I have, and remove all the dogmatic, doctrine.
Yes.
And I noticed instantly in the last week, even, I have had 2 people tell me that I radiate joy. And if that's not the universe working collectively, if that's not, I would say, God putting people in my life to reflect back to me, now you're back on track, Stevie. Now I have you back. Now I have you back.
Yes.
Childlike joy that was curious, not critical, because I started to criticize myself. I'm supposed to be this way. I'm supposed to be that way. That's not how Christ met me. That's not how I met Christ. He said, come as you are. And we've had an incredible relationship until I started to siphon all the sort of dialogue. So long story short, too late, but that I'm literally doing the work even still in a cohort, and finding that there are things that I still do where I go, okay, tried ministry, not for me, because I tend to go down the rabbit hole of dogmatic, whatever, legalism. So let me pull back from that. Let me just get back to relationship, not religion. And then wouldn't you know it, if not instantly, it's been literally since last Saturday. What are we, 3 days in?
Yeah.
2 days in, 3 days in.
Yeah.
And I've had 2 people tell me, wow, you're really radiating joy. And so to me, it's like, oh my gosh, welcome home. I'm back on track,
Yes.
Yeah. So
I love that you just said that. Even this past Sunday, our pastor actually said, it's not about religion, it's about relationship. Like, get back to it.
Yes. It's so simple. It's not easy, right?
No,
But
not easy.
it's so simple. It's so simple and it's so beautiful. And it
just
all
like
goes back-
meditation. It's a practice. It's a conscious choice. Wake up.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you wrestle the flesh, right? You wrestle the internal dialogue, but that shouldn't be frustrating to us. That should be exciting to us, because what more could any human possibly do? If we can't help our human condition that naturally has intrusive thoughts and all these other things, if we can't control that, how beautiful that we're still willing to show up and wrestle it. That is worth
And I think that's what's beautiful too about the SWIHA community is you're just reminded you're not in this alone. You're not the only one feeling these feelings. And hey, here's healthy things to do with it. Right?
Yeah. And how exciting that other people want to be better humans. SWIHA gives so much hope, because it's a community of people that are trying to be an instrument, not an ego, in the peace and healing of others.
Okay, you're gonna you can't make this stuff up. I have the chills. Mitch just commented on here. Do you remember when I said we're gonna call in that one soul who was like, well, I guess I needed to hear this today?
Oh,
here it comes. Mitch, the topic really resonates with me because I think for many, attaching joy with prosperity or attracting success is incompatible. Work isn't supposed to be joyful. So love this topic. I think it resonates whether you're a coach or not. This is really what walking the talk is all about. Joy and success are in fact perfectly compatible. Thanks for doing this. I just popped on my phone and somehow this live chat popped up. So clearly this was meant for me. Mitch, we called you in, brother.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes. And then you get stuff like this that is so divinely timed that you can't deny that it's something supernatural. It's greater than us, and it connects us all in a very deep and real way. And it's so beautiful. And then that gives you joy. That gives you joy. So it's just this constant, ever feeding thing. It's remarkable.
So in the power of 3 right here, we just upped the collective consciousness just a bit more to vibrate joy and gratitude for this topic, because we know it's not easy, but hey, no one's getting out alive.
Right.
We're in it together, right?
I mean, battle buddies for life. Let's do this. You
Yeah.
know, one of
Yeah.
my personal trainer coach, Matt Bryant, he says, you know, you are a worthy opponent. Your
Mhm.
shadow is a worthy opponent. Like, let's
Mhm.
go. And
Mhm.
so, what a beautiful thing. And we're so busy tending our own garden that
Mm.
we're not offended when we see other people's, because you're humbled by what's in yours. But also, when you see someone struggling with an otherwise stubborn weed,
Mm.
you can say, hey, don't even worry about it, you should see what's in mine. Or you say, hey, I know how to handle that one, let me
Mhm.
offer you some advice, you know.
Yeah.
And it just I don't know, it's such a beautiful thing to just do the work. Don't forget to do the very work that you're preaching other people need to do. Continue to stay in that space, because it
Mm.
makes you credible, it makes you relatable, and it makes it that much easier for you to talk about your most recent success stories with the work, because you yourself are doing it. So
That's
it
right.
becomes very natural and organic to share it with those around you.
Amen. Okay, what topic next? Because we need to do this like more often, maybe once a month for sure.
Oh, so we should definitely ask anyone that pops
Okay.
on.
Yeah.
And then
Anyone who rewatches, leave a
yeah.
comment.
And then what would be a good one? Let's see. I mean, there is a lot about around the money thing for sure.
I know. I think because we probably should go more into the shadow because it does stun
Yes.
and
Yeah.
stun a lot of healers and practitioners because you
Yes.
will walk through the fire.
Mm-hmm.
It is part of your ordainment and
Absolutely.
your ordination, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
But you will be called. So if you have this purpose, this calling,
Mm-hmm.
you will have to walk through that. God will call you to be that person, to go through it, just like Jesus did, right? I'm not saying we're all like
Absolutely.
Jesus, but I strive to be. But I know I can't help someone else out of their own fire and darkness until I know how to do that for myself
Right.
and on the regular, right? And
Yeah.
how I know how to
And
do it in
who
healthy
wouldn't want to
ways,
take
right?
yeah. And I want to take advice from someone who's been there and done that. You know, you show me yours, I'll show you mine. Let's go. Like
Yes.
we're in this. I want someone who's already trekked the mountain and maybe is just a little bit further ahead of me. That gives me more hope. So
Look at
it'd
this.
be
Look at this. Oh,
oh
yes. Okay, LinkedIn is on fire right now.
woo.
Margaret, what's up, Margaret? I literally have been buried by my responsibilities and put joy on the back burner and was burnt out for 2 months. I'm just now seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and now incorporating more joyful things into my life on purpose and intentionally.
I love it. And, you know, I don't know if Margaret can respond to what those things might be, but I know for
Yeah.
me, the simplicity of childlike things,
Mm.
we jump on the trampoline with the sprinkler underneath.
Do you I thought
yeah,
about that the other day.
yeah. I love
Love it.
crossword puzzles. There's something about
Mm.
going back to that place of childlike wonderment where we can be curious, not critical, whatever that looks like for you, you know. Where's somewhere where you can be curious, not critical? And
Love that.
whatever that turns into, it's like that there's just something there. There's something there. It's like innately part of us. It's those puzzle pieces that we're kind of revisiting. And then everything else makes sense again. Now we know how to build from that corner because we went back to the corner, you know? So it's like,
Mhm.
okay, I've got my foundation, I've got the frame. I just need to revisit the frame because I'm looking at like something blank right here in the center and I don't know. So let me go back.
Look what you said.
Ah,
Yeah, that's
find
it.
the things you loved doing as a kid. Yes, totally. Ride your bike till the
Mm.
street lights come on, baby. Like,
Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah.
Go play in the rain.
Wave down the ice cream truck. You
Yep.
know, like there's there's something to be said about revisiting a place of curiosity versus criticism for sure.
She likes
Oh, tennis.
playing tennis. Yeah, that's hers.
Oh, and natural bodies of water. Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, in my hypno scripts, when we would start to write our own, that was always my favorite. I would always come up with like, you're by a
Mm.
stream of water. And there'd almost always there'd be like something like a leaf that's just circling and was like
Mm.
stubborn and wouldn't continue forward. And I would always, that was always like my go-to was like, that little leaf, we're just going to nudge it out of that crevice, and then it would make its way. But it was, the bodies of water thing is brilliant. Yeah. Wonderful, Margaret. Thanks for sharing. That's awesome.
I know. LinkedIn is on fire right now. Woo! So, wow. See, this is the goodness. We knew we would call these souls in who just needed that external validation and reminder of,
be intentional about revisiting joy. That's wonderful. And I love what Mitch said too, that joy and success can be synonymous, and it doesn't have to be about money, right? It's things just naturally happen, supernaturally happen when we come from a place of joy. And so how do we get back to there? Childlike wonderment, curiosity. That's it.
I'd say the best things in life can come from the joy, forgiveness.
Oh, yeah.
Recovery.
Oh, yeah. So much grace to give when you're in a space of la-di-da. I see you. I'm joyful, because joy, separate from happiness, is not about our circumstances, right? Joy is that sort of
acceptance. We embrace this.
Yes. And it doesn't make sense. It's like an upside down kingdom. Joy is despite your circumstances, right? So, yeah.
That's right. And amazing. I like how Margaret's words came up. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
It is saying that to whatever happens. Yes, thank you. I accept. And here's what I'm going to do with these circumstances.
Yes.
Right.
And I will be joyful in the midst of it. I will find the joy in the midst of it. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And then opportunities flow from it. It's worth giving a shot. If nothing else, it's just so worth giving it a shot.
So maybe we can all just make an agreement, an intention together to practice joy this week, every day for the whole week. And maybe then comment back on what did you do to create that joy? And literally, what did you call in from it? What opportunity
I love it. Yeah. And it could be, who knows what it could be. We just trust the process. It could be hearing it back from another person saying, wow, you really radiate joy. It could be a business opportunity. It could be something out of the blue. We don't know. But I love staying curious in that too. And I love, I agree. I'm down. Yay. All right. Let's do it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
More tennis, Margaret. You get out there, girlfriend.
I'm going to play pickleball next weekend.
There we go.
Not tennis, but hey, one step down. That's okay. I'm still having fun.
Hey, it's joyful for you, and that's what matters.
Yeah, it's actually joyful for my mom, and that's what brings me joy, because I get to play with her in that arena.
Cool. Yes. Oh my gosh, that's great. I'm so excited.
I know. Okay, so we will have you back on, Stevie, for sure, like sooner than later. So you ping me what you want to talk about.
Okay, deal.
And the shadow work part
Margaret or Mitch or anyone else has suggestions, let's do it.
Put it in the chat.
Yay!
Follow through. All right, sister. Well, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much. What a blessing.
Thank you, Mitch and Margaret, for participating with us.
Thank you all so much.
We'll let you know when we will be on again with Stevie and what topic that will be about.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. What a blessing. Okay. Bye for now, everyone.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Money. Margaret says money. Deal.
Okay. We're going to talk about it. All right, sisters.
I'd be
See y'all out there.
Okay. Bye for now, Becca.
Bye.